Hi, I'm Ananya Cleetus. I was taught how to use a computer, and I taught a computer how to help people with mental health crises.
Sitting down with Ananya Cleetus today. Hi Ananya, how are you
Hey.
doing? Cool. Why don't you tell us a little bit about maybe just like who you are, your major, and what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I'm a junior in computer science, and I'm also the founder of Anemone, the first complete crisis app for people experiencing mental health emergencies.
So founder, so you built the whole app, you came up with the idea, it's all you. And then where is that now?
Yeah, so the app was released about a year ago on the Apple Store, and it has almost 400 downloads. It's currently in a lot of different competitions at the University of Illinois. We received money from the National Science Foundation through a program called iCore, and we're also participating in the COSAD New Venture competition as well as the Carl Hospital Health Makeathon.
Dang, yeah, good luck. What inspired you to make this app?
Yeah, so Anemone was basically inspired by my own struggles with mental health. I struggled with mental illness for most of my life, but it wasn't until college that things started to get really bad for me. I ended up having to take over a year and a half off from school just to deal with it, and I really wanted to create an app where people felt like they could prepare and respond to any sort of mental health crises, whether that's related to suicide, related to a panic attack, eating disorder, substance use disorder. Just create a platform that allowed people to create a plan step by step with important information such as like medications, warning signs, crisis symptoms, treatment facilities they prefer, emergency contacts, and be able to quickly share and export that with friends, family, first responders, and anyone else who might be involved in a crisis. Because I think it's kind of ridiculous that as kids we're taught a lot of ways to prepare for emergencies, but they're usually physical emergencies. Like we're taught CPR, some of us learn about the Heimlich maneuver, we learn stop, drop, and roll, but as a kid we're never ever taught about mental health. So what happens is you have a lot of people who, especially around my age, get to college and start experiencing a mental health emergency, either of themselves or of like a loved one or a friend, and people typically don't know what to do. And so I think the whole point of Anemone is to make that a lot easier for people and give people peace of mind when it comes to something like that.
That's some really like good stuff. You're also part of you're very involved in the mental health scene at U of I in terms of working with the counseling center, and now there's like mental health group and in CS. Could you talk a little bit about that and what made you want to start or like get involved with these initiatives as opposed to like just sitting around like, oh dang, I wish things were better,
Yeah. Well, like I'm really involved currently in a lot of mental health policy and projects on campus. I'm involved in a group called Active Minds, and we've been working on projects such as getting the suicide hotline on student iCards, requiring a mental health syllabus statement similar to the DRES statement that many of you have seen on the syllabus for faculty, and just a lot of different groups. I've been working with the Counseling Center to develop a myth versus truth ad campaign to help students get correct information about their policies. I'm part of the advisory committee. I also worked with the mental health reform group to organize a demonstration that happened last semester. And in this semester, I'm working a lot more within engineering and computer science, and have been meeting with some of the deans in engineering, as well as working to host events in CS for other students to further dialogue about mental health. I think for me, the main reason I wanted to get so involved in a lot of things like this is just because when I was going through my crisis, I felt very alone. And I think that's sort of the nature of mental illness. You just feel very alone, and especially because of how invisible the illness is, people typically don't even know when you're experiencing something like that. And so I just really wanted to sort of push the boundaries of the stigma surrounding mental health, especially in engineering, where I think it can be especially stigmatized and difficult. Not just from like the rigor of the coursework here, but also because it's such a diverse student body, and a lot of people come from cultural backgrounds where mental health and mental illness are such stigmatized topics. And so I really wanted to create an atmosphere here where people feel comfortable sharing their story. They feel comfortable asking for help, and more than anything, they know where to get help when they need it. And so the idea behind putting stuff on the syllabus, behind hosting events, is just so that people never feel like they're just being left alone or they're going to fall through the cracks. There's always somebody that they can reach out to, whether it's a faculty member or a staff member, whether it's a student, whether it's calling a number on the iCard. There's always some way for someone to get help.
What progress have you seen so far?
Honestly, I think there's actually been a lot more progress than I realized. When I first came back to campus, I was a little unsure of how people would react to this sort of thing. I helped organize the first computer science mental health night through ACM last semester, and we had almost 200 people attend. We filled the biggest auditorium in Cebu, which was very exciting. And we had a lot of speakers, including people from the counseling center, the advising office, some other students, and the response was just amazing. I had so many people not only reach out to me personally, but also just share the message with their friends, and we've had so much demand for future events, and so I'm really excited for that kind of thing. I think also there's been a huge push around wellness in general. There are a lot more events about de-stressing, about just having fun, finding ways to relax in the middle of all the stress from academics and things like that, because a lot of people, I think, get very caught up in the midst of schoolwork and forget about their own health and their own wellness, and so I think stuff like this can be really fun, whether it's, there's a night coming up this week where we're having Bob Ross style painting, or whether it's hanging out with friends, exercising. I think there's a really big push for wellness overall recently in engineering, and that makes me really happy. So.
And congratulations, that's really cool stuff. How do you go about balancing your day-to-day when you have school, you have if you want to get a job, industry responsibilities, but then also these initiatives and Anemone, how are you, and whatever else is going on?
Yeah, no, it is tricky at times, but I think the most important thing is just making sure that you're well and you're happy, and that's been something that has honestly been a hard lesson for me. I think before I took my time off from school, I was the sort of person who would always sacrifice sleep, sacrifice health, just to try to get more stuff in, do more things. And I think having come back, I think I still have a lot of the same excitement and enthusiasm for the projects I work on, but I've really worked on balance and finding a way to balance all these different aspects of my life. So making sure I get enough sleep, making sure that I'm eating, that kind of thing. It might seem like common sense to people, but those kinds of things easily get out of control when you're doing so many things. It is tricky at times, but I think what makes it easier is the fact that I really enjoy all the mental health work that I do. It never seems exhausting. It's just, I'm always so excited to meet new people, talk to people, hear their stories, and figure out new ways that we can make change on campus. Because I think there's a huge support system now for students, and there's so many students all over campus who are really passionate about mental health and working in this space. And so it just makes it really exciting and really energizing to work with these people.
No, that's really cool. I remember last year I saw when you were a TEDx or TED speaker announced Ananya. First I was okay, she's gonna be my rival. But then when you put my ego aside and okay, my inspiration. So yeah, big respect for me. So one topic I've heard about a lot while being here in undergrad is just there's not a lot of representation or female presence and other underrepresented groups in industry and on campuses. What's your experience been as being a member of that demographic?
It's definitely hard at times. I think especially with a lot of classes, you'll walk in and sometimes you're one of 3 girls and they're 30 guys, and that's such a common thing even at a university level. And I think sometimes it can be daunting, but on the flip side, I think there are so many amazing girls in CS doing great things here, and organizations like WCS, which is one of the most supportive environments I've ever seen on campus, and just people always willing to help out, whether it's related to a homework problem, related to a project, interview help. I think there's just such a supportive system of women on campus that it doesn't really feel like you're out of place ever. Even though the numbers might be different or you might be outnumbered in a class, I think just the love and support that everyone has for each other really makes up for that. So.
What would you say to high school girls, let's say, who are interested in CS, but they're oh no, too many boys. Will I find people who look like me? What do you say to those girls who are on the edge? They're interested, but they're not sure about if they'll find people that look like them.
Yeah, I would say honestly, I know it's tough. I know it can be intimidating seeing so many guys looking at you like you're different. But I think it's so important for there to be more women in tech, not only to be in tech, but also to be creating the kinds of cutting-edge products and things that can apply to everyone. I've seen so many amazing female-founded startups, things related to a smart mirror that can show you what makeup looks like, or apps that can track menstrual cycles, all kinds of cool projects that I don't think people would have come up with if there wasn't enough diversity in tech, or people to understand what women really want. And so I would say absolutely stick with it. And try to explore other opportunities and learn more about different applications in tech. I remember when I was a girl in CS, besides robotics, my only experience really at first was just like, my classroom, my APCS classroom, where I was the only girl. But there's so much more out there, whether it's cybersecurity, if you want to be in a competition like Pico CTF, whether it's robotics, like I mentioned, web development, mobile app development, virtual reality. Like, the world is your oyster. There's so many things out there. And so I would just urge people to keep exploring and find something that really interests you. Because it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl or anyone, really. I think if you find something that you're passionate about, just stick with it.
Yeah, I think it's like, just for my personal take, it's a shame there's not enough representation. Just because when you're missing a whole group of humans, that's a whole group of ideas and stuff. I like to build stuff, and I just think we're losing out on potential things we can build when we're excluding people. But that's just my take.
No, I agree completely. I feel like there are not enough perspectives when it's only guys. Like, for example, like the NASA spacewalk, where they had to postpone that because they didn't have a suit that fitted a second woman. Just stuff like that. Like, you'd be surprised. It's 2020, and there's still so many issues that women face, and so I think we really need more women in STEM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Why are you where you are now?
Honestly, I think it's because I've struggled so much with this sort of thing. When I came here, I always wanted to be the perfect Indian child, getting good grades, getting an internship, going through all the motions, graduating, that sort of thing. But life doesn't really turn out that way. And for me, I think I've experienced some of people's worst nightmares. I've had to be in the hospital, I've had to be on the ventilator, I've had to leave school, I've been kicked out of school, I've failed classes, all kinds of stuff that people only have in their nightmares maybe. And I've lived through all of that. I've lived through having to go home, accept the fact that I needed to work on my health, and that's what really, I think, drives me even today, in not only in Anemone, but also in all of the projects that I do on campus, is that I realize what a painful and horrible experience that can be, and I don't want anyone to have to suffer through that again and feel like they're alone.
Big respect for going so personal too. No, nothing left behind. I hope if you ask me what's gonna happen to these videos, I'll be like, I'll put them on the internet and I don't know. But I hope someone in the future watches it like, damn, Ananya's a beast. I'm gonna go solve my own problems too. So big thanks for shining light on the more real parts of this, as opposed to you rewrite code, get money, change the world. You're like, no, there's more to that shit. So big respect. Any last words? I sort of said this before, it might be kind of cliched, but just don't be afraid to embrace all aspects of yourself. I think people get so caught up in trying to be a specific part of themselves and ignoring or suppressing what they consider the bad parts of themselves. And I think that's what really makes us human, what makes us relatable to people, is the struggles that we've been through. And so many of the best products and best things that I've seen out there have been people using their own personal problems to develop something. And that's exactly, I guess, the story of Anemone with me. For a while, I felt so embarrassed, so ashamed of the fact that I was living with a mental illness, that I was going through things that I thought a normal person might not go through. But ultimately, I think that led me to create one of the projects that I've been most proud of, and something that I'm so excited to work on and wake up and contribute to on a daily basis. And it's led me to meet so many amazing people in the same space. So just, even if you feel like you're struggling with something and it's such a difficult time for you, I would say just embrace that. Embrace your struggles and learn from them, instead of trying to suppress the parts of you that you feel like don't belong. Thanks for that. I'm learning a lot from this. Very dropping mad wisdom, really good words. Lots of inspiring stuff. And I will watch this a few times because I feel like there's a lot I missed. Cool, thank you. And
yeah, for sure.
So I'm sitting down with Ananya today. Hi, Ananya.
Hey.
Oh,
No, I wasn't sure if this was a continuous shot.
Mic check.
Honestly, I think it's because I've struggled so much with this sort of thing.
I think OCS engineering is more respected, even among employers and stuff like that. And honestly, I think it's the opposite.
Better in the questions.
Okay.
It's not that star-studded story. Not saying
Obviously, I was proud of myself. That was my first, real achievement.
Welcome to Devlogs.